Trick or treat, everyone. It's Halloween. I have on my Ouija board hoodie, and today we're covering The Howling, published in 77 and adapted to the screen in 81. And before we explore The Howling, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, I greatly appreciate it. And click the notification bell, as it helps the small channel keep growing. Okay. For a book that is only 223 pages long, you wouldn't think there's much room for deviation when making a movie out of this, but that's completely the opposite case. The only thing the book and the movie have in common is this lady Karen and her husband vacationing in what they discover to be a werewolf village after a traumatic event where they live. Now, the book opens up with a little history about a small, secretive village in Bulgaria called Dradia that was thought to be cursed. And after a shepherd and his family move close by and start to see their sheep and later on one of their children mauled to death, the villagers in Dradia were attacked and tortured to death in a futile effort to get answers. Fast forward to Los Angeles in 77, where a pair of newlyweds, Karen and Roy Beatty, have their lives turned upside down by a run-of-the-mill garbage human named Max Quist, who thinks the world owes him something. And he goes and takes what he thinks is owed to him by breaking into the Beatty's apartment and raping Karen. In the movie, Karen is a famous TV news journalist who is using herself as bait to trap a serial killer named Eddie Quist. Hence the traumatic event that compels Karen and her husband, Roy in the book, Bill in the movie, to take a break from the city and spend some time in a remote little town called Drago in the book, and known as just the colony in the movie. Now about this colony, also known as Drago. In the movie, it's kind of a small party central with heavy drinking and bonfires every night. In the book, it's so quiet. We are only introduced to about 6 locals. The town doctor, the old couple who own the only grocery store, a former nun named Inez, who is the librarian, and in the neighboring town who befriends Karen, and Marcia, who is the only one also in the movie. And speaking of Marcia, the only thing the book Marcia and the movie Marcia have in common is being a werewolf and stealing Karen's husband, and making him a werewolf too. In the movie, she looks like a cliche biker bar hoochie. In the book, she's the owner of her own little curiosity shop in Drago, and she's mysterious and captivating as well as sympathetic, and she doesn't wear leather. Now, for such a small book, the story moves at a pretty reasonable pace to make room for all the mystery leading up to the final shootout and getaway. First, Karen's dog is mauled. Then, Karen herself is attacked by what looks like a wolf, and she injures it with just enough buckshot to take off an ear. Then, while her husband is getting busy at night with Marcia, she and Inez are studying the history of Drago and asking all the wrong people about werewolves, leading to Inez being killed by Roy in his wolf form, just as Karen has found out about Drago being founded by escapees from Dradia. She calls Chris at home to come get her and bring silver bullets, just as the doctor and the old couple who run the general store reveal themselves as werewolves. And she sees her husband in his wolf form, with just enough humanity left to defend her when the wolf doctor attacks. And they escape after distracting them by throwing in a burning towel. In the movie, it seems like they don't waste time on mystery before showing us some wolves. She and Chris lock them in a barn and torch it. And the movie ends with Karen getting back to her news desk as a werewolf that looks like a Pomeranian. Or is that a Pekingese? I'm not really schooled on my dog breeds. Also, it shows that Marcia has survived the barn fire. In the book, Karen shoots Marcia dead, and she and Chris just escape. No barn fire, no after story. It's just left to our imaginations until the Howling 2. But that's another book and movie for another day. Alright, now, for another first. Now, this is not an advertisement or a word from our sponsor. Don't have any of those yet. It's a shout out to a small business. Now, I love Shopify. I love small businesses. And this shout out goes to a small business that is my hands down favorite. And get ready for a mouthful of a name you want to write it down. Sucria Bay. And I had to read someone else's phonetic spelling of that name just to say it right. It's called Suc for short, and their specialty is perfume. Not just the usual flowers, vanilla, and baby powder. Pretty much anything that smells good is put into these unique scent blends, and there are hundreds to choose from, and something for everyone, men and women. They have scent blends that employ food, herbs, baking spices, top shelf spirits, leather, smoke, flowers of course, and even some elemental scents that I didn't think could be bottled. If you want to smell like the ocean or the earth, they've got it. You can find it here. They even have collections of scent blends based on TV shows, like Supernatural, Firefly, Game of Thrones, and they incorporate chocolate, toffee, buttercream, frosting, and cookies into scent blends that don't have you smelling like you've been crawling with little children. Not that that's a bad thing. Most of their house perfumes come with an amusing story, and they have a Facebook group page for all customers, past, present, and future, to share experiences, cheer each other through their victories, hold each other's hands through difficulties, and last but not least, their master scent catalog reads like a wine list. There really is something for everyone. And this one definitely applies to me, my book witch. Smells like the inside of a Barnes & Noble or a Books A Million, complete with hot brewed drinks and wall-to-wall books. It's all very reasonably priced and so unique that it makes great birthday and Christmas gifts as well as little personal rewards too. And that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you back next week for audition.